Hello, and a very warm welcome, or welcome back to my little cottage garden in Cambridgeshire in the UK. After weeks of continuous rain, the sun finally came out this weekend, just for a day. It was freezing cold, but that didn't deter me from heading outside with a cup of tea to see what was happening in the garden. There are a lot more signs of spring growth on the plants now, which is nice to see. It reminds me that it'll be spring in a few weeks. This Sarcococca is putting out wonderfully fragrant flowers now, and it still has its berries on from last summer. I'm enjoying the snowdrops that I've opened and still waiting on a few to open up fully. I haven't had much success with snowdrops in the past, so I'm pleased to see that most of the ones I planted last spring have come back. One solitary daffodil bloom opened up to welcome the sun, and I'm a little confused about the color. The pack of daffodil bulbs I planted says the flowers are lemon to white, and this is definitely not lemon to white. I have quite a few of these daffodils coming up around the garden, so it'll be interesting to see what color they turn out to be. My new camellia burst into bloom during the week, and the flowers are absolutely beautiful. I've been covering it up overnight to protect the buds from frost, and so far it seems to be thriving. So I'm looking forward to enjoying these flowers for a while to come. The pond is looking good. The water is a bit cleaner now than it was last month. I think as the days lengthen, the pond plants wake up and start to do their job of keeping the water clean. There was no sign of the frog, but I eventually found him by the bug hotel. Perhaps he spent the winter snuggled up in there. This frog always seems so lonely, and I really hope he or she finds a mate this year, and then I can have frog spawn and tadpoles. A plant delivery arrived in the post last week. These are sweet woodruff for my shady corner. This was one of the most recommended plants by my viewers for the shady corner, so thank you once again to everyone who sent me suggestions. I took advantage of the break in the weather to plant them out. The shady corner is already rather full, but I managed to squeeze in the new plants. I have a habit of putting too many plants in my beds, and then having to move them when they get bigger and start crowding each other out. It doesn't bother me too much because I know I can always move things. And sweet woodruff is quite vigorous, so it should be able to compete with the other plants here. I also did some pruning on this sage. It's getting quite leggy and needs rejuvenating. It's a semi-evergreen plant, and I always find that mine get a bit tatty over the winter. This one has started to put on new growth, so it's a good time to prune it back. Since I had a bunch of sage prunings, I decided to plant some of them. This sage roots very easily. I just push the cutting into the soil and then put a stick there as a marker to remind me of where I've put it. Here is one I planted a month ago and it's already putting on new growth. And this is a cutting that I took in the autumn. It's already grown into an established plant. This particular sage is a favorite of mine. I always have some of the dried leaves in the house and I use them in soups and stews. And sometimes I steep them in hot water to make tea. The dried leaves are very aromatic and quite soothing in a tea if you have a sore throat. I did a bit of pruning on my clematis. This is Etoile Violette and it's a group 3 clematis, so it needs to be cut back hard in late winter. Online it says to cut it back to knee height, but that seemed very drastic, so I only took off about half of the plant. I don't have very much experience with clematis, so if you do, please let me know if you think I should cut it back further. So that's all I managed to get done this weekend. Not very much, but that's okay. It had been so long since we had a sunny day that I spent most of it just sitting in the garden, soaking up as much sunshine as I could. And I'm really glad that I did that because the very next day we were back to the wet and wintry weather. So it isn't looking like I'll be doing much in the garden in the next few days. But as my mother used to say, we weather the weather, whatever the weather. Thanks as always for watching, liking, subscribing, and commenting. Have a lovely week and see you in the next video.